Hey everyone, and welcome to another Who Are They Real Review. Once again, I am Matt, but I'm not alone today. I have the awesome Connor Breedlove with me.
How's it going? First off, I just want to say, uh, Natty Light, Natural Light, they're doing a fantastic program going on where you can try and get them to sponsor you. So we just, I'm not sure when this is going to go up, but it's Thursday night in real time. It's a perfect time to talk about the concept of time. So whenever you're listening to this, it could be at the exact same moment. It could be in the future. It could be in the past. We don't know. Time is a concept. But just did a stream for Really Scared, and I was drinking a lot of Natural Light. I'm not going to stop. I'm trying to get Natty Light to sponsor me. I'm going to go ahead and crack open into another Catalina Lime mixer, Natural Light Seltzer. Trying to get Natty Light to sponsor me. Like I said, this flavor is magnificent. It's when cherry and lime become best friends. Perfect flavor mix up. So go ahead and crack that open. It's really good. I'm excited to talk about a fantastic film.
Yes, and it really is a fantastic film, and this is a film that for a while there we didn't know when we were going to get it. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to finally be able to talk about this with someone, and it's Tenet. Tenet, not Tenant. It's Tenet. But yeah, Connor, let's start off. How did you feel about this film?
I think it was Christopher Nolan at his absolute peak. Like this is peak Nolan. This is Nolan, with free reins. Like whatever he wanted to do. He's not worrying about linear timelines. He's not worrying about, is the audience going to follow me? He had a vision, he had a story, and he told it. And god damn, is Christopher Nolan a genius, because he makes this work. He makes it work, and it shouldn't work. This should fall apart. The story should fall apart, and it doesn't. It is, for the full 2.5 hours, it is perfect, or absolutely near perfect.
Yes.
It is so good.
No, I can honestly agree. It's a film that definitely grabs you from the moment it starts, basically.
Yes, absolutely. With the Ludwig score just swelling right away, it
Yes.
puts you in the story, and you're like, what is going on? They're in this big opera center, and you're like, why is there like a SWAT team here?
Exactly.
And then it just unravels, and the score helps that. Props to Ludwig.
Yeah. A score can make or break a film, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ludwig, he always adds that extra oomph to like any film he does.
Yeah.
It feels like. But I do want to say, I feel like if it weren't for Robert Pattinson's performance, his character is key, because if he doesn't perform the way he did, this whole film could fall apart easily.
Yeah, don't forget about the protagonist.
No, I can't take anything away from John David Washington. The whole cast performed well, but I'm eyeballing Robert Pattinson because he's the linchpin. I feel like if he doesn't, in certain scenes, if he doesn't act the way he does or hide things the way he does, it could all just unravel, and it wouldn't be as cohesive
Absolutely.
as it could have been.
And no props taken away from Robert. He was fantastic, and he's very important to the storyline.
Yeah.
But I also viewed him like the Tom Hardy of Inception, or the Joseph Gordon-Levitt of Inception, where they're a supporting character. But goddamn, does he really bite off like what he has there and make something out of like a minor, not really a minor, but a supporting role. He does fantastic. But John David Washington, I felt like I was watching Denzel on screen.
Yes.
Like he really embodied his father. Like some of those quips he has, or those smart one-liners, I'm like, holy shit, he is good. Like he's going to be just as good, if not better, than his father. Like this is only his second role?
It's
after Black Klansman?
It's his second lead role.
Okay, but he's been in minor roles.
I think he's been in a couple minor roles. I know he had a major part in like the TV show Ballers, but outside of film, I know he was in Malcolm X at the end of that.
Oh yeah, he was the little boy. Yeah.
Yeah,
But as a leading man, god damn,
so
like
killer. And it begs to I beg to wonder, because we should, when we call him the protagonist, that's his name. He doesn't have a name. He's
correct.
called the protagonist. So we're not just saying, we're not forgetting the name or anything. That is his name.
And they put it into the story too.
Yeah.
Because it comes up and there's this woman who kind of sets things in motion, and she's like, it's going to take a certain kind of protagonist to do this, and then that's where like you kind of get the name the protagonist.
Yes.
He's like, well, I'm that guy, I'm that protagonist.
But no, I agree with you. He does a great job. You got to wonder what tips he's gotten from his father over the years.
Exactly.
He has the same charisma and gravitas on screen that you get from a normal Denzel pick. And I'm like, damn, I'm like, if this movie could have happened like 20 years older, 20 years ago, we probably would have Denzel in this exact role.
Yeah. Like the diner scene with Sir Michael Caine.
Yeah.
When he's like, can I box this up? And he's like, absolutely not. And he just looks at him. I was like, that is such a classic, like, Denzel moment. Like, that whole scene was like so classic Denzel.
And we keep comparing him to Denzel. And I feel like that's a disservice to John himself.
He's
such a great actor.
It's not saying he is embodying his father and like copying him. It's just he has that charisma. And you can tell he's going to do great things in film because he's so good. Like, you just, like,
to have your first two major roles be a Spike Lee film and then a Christopher Nolan film, like, that's a hell of a way to start off a career.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Tenet. I do. The cast overall, great performances. Aaron Taylor Johnson, even though it's a smaller role,
I didn't know it was him until the end, until like the last scene where they're at the like bunker type thing where they're trying to defuse the bomb or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, that's Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, what the fuck? Like, the whole time I was trying to figure out who this bearded guy was. And then when they like show more time on him, I'm like, fuck.
Elizabeth Debicki, like, this is probably, and granted, the first film I saw her in was Great Gatsby that I can remember, where she played Jordan. Yeah. And then the next film I saw her in after that was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yeah. So, like, this was the first time I saw her have this major, super important role, and she
needed role for her.
Yeah, and she had my attention the entire time. Like,
yeah,
she has a lot of scenes with John David Washington, and she matches his intensity,
like the wit,
the intensity, and
the like subtext in what they're saying. Like they match it perfectly. Like they're not saying like because you know he's a spy, and she's trying to be coy, and she's trying to like be careful about what she says because you know her whole life is in danger. Like she's being held against her will basically. And they like match their like underlying wit and coyness, and it's so perfect when they're on screen together.
No, and I agree completely. And it's just like I couldn't take my eyes off. I was shocked because John David Washington's a former NFL player. He's like 5'10". She towers over him.
Yeah,
I was like, damn. But we talk about her, but we got to bring up the actor who plays her husband and the villain of this film, Kenneth Branagh, who does like this very super believable, even Russian, dickhead Russian guy, and you're just like, this. It felt like a sci-fi Bond film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like Christopher Nolan's like, you see this? This is what you could have done if this is what you could have if you let me do Bond, like I've said I've wanted to do for years. Yeah. Except less sci-fi related, but you know. Y'all keep pushing me away. All right, fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The whole time I was like, oh, God, I want Christopher Nolan to do a Bond film.
Yeah. Oh, but let's get into the story a little bit. So
let's do it.
So and I should mention, this is a spoiler review, people. So up until this point, we've kind of avoided spoilers, but we're going to get into spoilers now. So tune out until maybe like 2 minutes left in this video when we start dropping the so you could just just fast forward to when there's like 2 minutes left in the video, probably. And
Let's just start out with how Inception was about dreams.
Yes.
And the mind. This is about time. Do you want to go ahead and give like a little synopsis of the story, and then we can get into the overarching story?
I will pull up the actual synopsis now.
Okay.
That's probably a better idea. Besides
this will go on for like 2 hours.
Exactly. Tenet synopsis. A secret agent embarks on a dangerous time-bending mission to prevent the start of World War III. And that's really all you can say without getting into the spoilers we're about to get into. So let's do it.
Let's just say World War III, it's not really World War III. It's the end of the fucking universe as they know it.
Exactly.
Basically, they're trying to stop the present and the future from colliding and just imploding, really. It's all centering around this scientist who kind of has their foot in the past and the future at the same time.
He's an arms dealer, not a scientist.
Was he an arms dealer?
He's the arms dealer, and then we had Clemens Posey.
Oh, You're right. Sorry.
Scientist in the beginning. But they're like, yeah. So when we first meet the protagonist, there's this huge thing going on at the Opera House. And like Connor said in the beginning, it's a SWAT mission. This isn't really spoilers because this is stuff you see in the trailer. We're about to get into spoilers right now. So as he's in this mission and he's trying to get this one guy out, he's like, you've been burned, you've been exposed. And you have all the firefight going on around you. And he notices there's a bullet hole already. And it shoots back into the gun. He's like, what the hell? And it's just like, and then that's when you're like, whoa, what?
And then they center in about this metal ring on this string on the backpack. I just want to say, like, we'll get into it, but did you know who it was right away? Because I knew who it was.
I had a feeling. I'm like,
away. I was like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Let's let it unravel, but I know who that is.
Exactly. So then he and one of his squad mates get captured. And then they get tortured, and they have to take this cyanide pill to die, basically. And then next thing we know, he's waking up. He's like, they've been like, yeah, your jaw's been reconstructed, this, that, and the other. You're the only one of your squad to make it out. But the fact that you didn't give them any information that you were that they wanted, this, that, and the other, you passed this test that basically no one else passes. And we have this mission for you. And then that's our story being so. It's like, the only thing I can give you is a name, and that's Tenet. And he's like, it's going to open some doors. Some of them are going to be the right ones. Some of them are going to be the wrong. And our story just begins to unfold from there. And then we meet the scientist, Clemens Posey, if I remember her name correctly. And and compared to most other Nolan films, this film does not give you as much exposition about the entire situation.
Once it starts, and like you better be like
paying
on
attention.
The train, because if you're not, you're gonna miss the ride.
Yeah, like if you don't pay attention to almost every little detail, and granted, I won't lie, as much as I love the sound editing, sometimes the lines get lost in it, and that's probably one of the few issues this film has.
I will say this, as a 2.5, there's very few long, like over 2 hour films that really grab my attention without me having to check the time. Like, when is this gonna be?
This flies.
I'll name a few. There's Blade Runner 2049. There's Boyhood. There's Tenet.
Endgame is perfect.
Endgame as
well.
3
hour film.
3 hours. Yeah.
Doesn't feel like it.
So those are a few films that I like, and this is one of them. Didn't check the time once because I was like so glued to the screen. Like, I was hanging on to every line because I knew there was an importance to every single piece of dialogue.
Exactly. And so she's explaining how. So this bullet's actually from the future. What do you mean it's from the future? Well, drop it. Okay. Now put your hand up, and it flies back in his hand. He's like, what the hell's going on? She's like, it's inverted, so it's already been dropped by you, so now it's coming back it already in another timeline. And it's like, wait, what? She's like, she's like, and then they go into the gun range, and all the bullets are shooting back into the gun. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I know he's like, this has less visual effect shots than a lot of this film is practical, and it's hard to believe.
Yeah,
But it's
and he
true.
said like this is the hardest film like he had someone edit because there was a lot to ask of them because there are very few visual effect shots. A lot of it is all reliant on the editing
Hmm.
because the whole like basically the whole movie's going forwards and backwards at the same time. Like
Yes.
it's kind of overlapping. It's like it's just insane how they did this.
Yeah. And so after we get that, he has to call in a favor, and that's when we meet Robert Pattinson's character, and they have to go to this one woman that Connor mentioned earlier to get this information. And he learns a little bit more about the material and how these things are happening. And it's basically you have to go see this guy. This guy is the key to it all because he's the arms dealer who's getting these inverted materials, guns, and everything.
Yeah, because at first it's just they're like, okay, he's inverting material.
Yep.
He's inverting these metals, and that's not where the story ends. That's not all he's trying to invert.
Yeah, and it's just and it's the ride. It's I like I want I there's so much you
There's
can
so
break
much
down.
to unpack.
You just wonder how Christopher Nolan was able to put together a film like this in that 2 hour span because that's when we meet Elizabeth Debicki's character, the mother, and then he gets close to the mother, and you find out she's being blackmailed by her husband, who's the arms dealer, to stay with her, or else she has to give up seeing her son, their child. And he promises to help get her free. And the plane scene, and then we get to the plane scene where they had to figure out this entire heist to get this fake piece of art,
which is his in to the arms dealer,
yes.
Kenneth Branagh's character, because the wife, what got her in this situation is she bought two.
She bought
forgeries.
one of two, because he was
one of two. Yeah, one of two forgeries from this
high end forgeries. They say near perfect forgeries.
Yeah, from this embezzler, and she sold it to him for like $9 million, and that's what got her in this situation because she's like Kenneth Branagh's character is like, I'm gonna if you are indebted to me, I can put you away in jail. You'll never see your son again, like all this stuff. So she's basically blackmailed by him. And so John David Washington's, the protagonist, is like, okay, I have the other forgery. This is my in to them. I'm going to go ahead and meet up with her and try to sell her this painting. She'll know it's a fake because she sold the other one to her husband. And that's my in to him.
And then we learned that she didn't know. And at first, and they had this dinner scene where her husband thinks that she's cheating on him with John David Washington's character. So he sends his goons in to make an example of him, and then that's when we see John David Washington go. In other words, equalizer. If we want to keep the Denzel comparison, we see him go equalizer on the thugs. Well, and keep in mind that he's having one of the goons stay with her in the car just so she can see what they expect to be his dead body at the end of it. And then you see a body roll out. She thinks it's him, and she realizes it's one of the goons. And then you see him walk down.
He just walks out and just
fixes his suit, and then we cut away. They drive away, and we cut away to the next time they meet. And it was great. Like,
yeah, let's talk about the set pieces.
Oh, God.
Like when they go in to steal the painting that's not really there, that whole sequence, they actually blew up that plane.
Yes, and this is where our story really starts to get meaty, because this is the first time we start to see inverted people.
Yeah, so they go to this airport and they have all these pieces of artwork that are basically seized, and they don't have to pay taxes on them, right?
So it's a way for these art collectors to see it's called a Freeport, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Freeport. Yeah.
And it's a way for them to, instead of having to pay all the taxes and whatnot to import their art to their houses, it stays at the Freeport and they have it all displayed, and the people can go see it whenever they want.
And they believe that this forgery is there.
And the idea of them going there is to destroy it, so she's able to get out free. And
they want to steal it first, and they realize they can't steal it because there are lockdown procedures, and it sucks all the, like, there's this gas that sucks out all the air.
Yeah.
And so they're like, they bring in some other people that Robert Pattinson's character knows. His crew members.
Yes.
And
the lead actor from yesterday.
Yeah. And they're like, we'll go ahead and drive this plane into there and blow it up, and it will automatically trigger the lockdown sequence. You just have to hold your breath for this certain amount of time, pick the locks, get out, and that's just like, that's what they think is going to happen.
Yeah.
What really happens, Matt?
And this is when our inverted characters, they've broken into a few locks, they're getting through, because there's 5 levels to this main section where they believe that they're going to find the painting, and instead they find this room and they're looking. There's bullet holes in the glass, and Robert Pattinson's character is like, what happened here? And all we hear from John David Washington is, it hasn't happened yet. And you're like, wait, what? And granted, we do see this part of the scene in the trailer. And that's all of a sudden it looks like somebody who's had wigging out, because they're going backwards in time. Yeah, they're going backwards in time at this moment. So you're just like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? This, that, and the other. And you're just like, it's this really cool fight scene where you have someone who's going forwards in time against backwards in time, and you have these weird motions, and you're like, this is so fucking trippy.
And let's talk about the sound editing during this scene, because you hear like
John grunts David backwards and grunts,
and then
forwards.
Like the punches landing, but the punches being pulled. Like, it's insanely done. It's so good. But this is where the mystery starts, because as this fight scene goes on, he kind of escapes,
because there are
there's two. One
on each side.
Each one comes out on each side.
Yeah. One's
on
going
Robert
Pattinson's
side, and then one on John David.
Going backwards in time.
Yes,
exactly.
And so, John David Washington's fighting his character, his
big spoiler
antagonist.
Yeah. So this
Let's just should we spoil it? It's actually
exactly, and that's, you actually did mention it. That's like big spoiler here, because that we find out later in the film this is himself. So let's fast forward a little bit to where he's finally gotten in with Kenneth Branagh's character, and he's like, I'm looking to steal this uranium. Was it? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, uranium.
Plutonium.
Plutonium. Thank you. Looking to steal this plutonium. I'll steal it, sell it to you. This Kenneth Branagh's character is like, done. So they're pulling off this heist and whatnot. And the next thing you know,
how did he really get in though? They went on this boating trip, and
he thought he was sleeping with his wife. He threatened to kill him. John David Washington brought up the fact that he's trying to steal this. He's like, we'll talk tomorrow. And then they go on the boating trip.
And his wife tries to kill him.
And John David Washington's character saves him. The protagonist saves him. And he's like, I'm indebted to you. I don't like being indebted to people. Name your price. He's like, your wife's safety, and we do this job.
He's like,
done. And then we see that he's not really a man of his word. Because he goes to beat his wife, and his wife has to pull up the fact that if he sees me bloodied or beaten, your deal's dead. And you don't like when your deals are dead. So if it weren't for him, you would have seen that this man is really not a man of his word. And that plays into the heist, because they pull off the heist. But little do we know, we have Kenneth Branagh's character there to take what has been stolen already, and he wasn't even supposed to. They were supposed to meet up after the fact. And he threatens to kill his wife right there in front of him. Now, this is when it gets really interesting. Because you see...
It's so hard to explain, because during this whole entire heist, they're trying to steal this case from this fire truck.
That's a piece of what's called the
algorithm.
The algorithm, yes, the algorithm.
And it's they think it's like the only piece of the algorithm. It's the actual algorithm.
Yeah, it's the last piece that Kenneth Branagh's character needs.
So they do this insane set piece. They're like, it's so cool on this highway, and they like sandwich this fire truck in between like two other trucks.
It was like so you have the security truck, the two cop cars, a fire truck, an ambulance,
like it's insane,
a semi, and something else. And just
so many moving pieces, and they like take this case where you think it's just going to be some papers or something.
You think it's going to be the plutonium. That's what you think it's going to be.
And so they take it, and it's the same thing they find at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
It's like, I've never seen this before. He's like, I've never seen like arms like this before. Like, I don't know what this is. And then you see Kenneth Branagh's character, who we later find out is moving back in time, is coming to steal that and kind of double cross John David Washington's the protagonist.
Yes.
Double crossing him. And there's like this is when you see more inverted,
and this is when
people.
And this is when, if you haven't paid attention to the story, it could all fall apart for you.
Yeah, because you see this car just in the middle of the street, turned over, and then you see this other car driving backwards. And then it's just all moving backwards, and you're like, what is going on?
And then they crash, and then there's a little firefight. They capture John David Washington and Robert Pattinson and bring the wife back, whose life was just being threatened. And they go into this room, and we see the same machine that we saw when we were in the Freeport. We see the same machine that the two people came out of. And this is when things get even more tricky, because he's threatening the wife. You hear it coming in at the correct way on John David Washington's side, but you see that he's in a muffled version of it. It's actually backwards on the other side. And you're like, wait, what? Like, what? And then you see him go through the machine.
And then he comes out on the same side.
And it's just like, wait, what? And that's when we have the real Aaron Taylor Johnson's team come in. It's like, we're doing a pincer movement. Robert Pattinson's character knew about this the entire time. So for a while there,
because up to this point, you're under the impression that Robert Pattinson's character has no idea what's going on.
Or he's
brought in to help John David Washington's character get information from was the scientist, right?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, and then he's just kind of strung along during the whole process because he knows too much now. Yeah. So he's like part of the team now. And it's at this point you're like, oh, he knew what was going on the whole time.
And he was hiding it. And
yeah.
And then because you have the mother's bleeding out, she's been shot twice.
Inverted, which we learn if you're shot with an inverted bullet, it's more damaging than actually being shot. Like, it's almost guaranteed death.
So what they have to do is they have to invert her
and go back in time.
So now because she's already been shot, she's healing, but she's still going to have a scar. And we also learn at that point in time, if you're inverted, you have to have this special mask.
Lungs can't
handle normal air. You have to have air that's basically CO2
as well.
Yeah, it's nuts. And this is where, if you haven't paid attention to the first half of the movie, it will fall apart for you. You'll be lost. And I know, and we say this because one of the members of our crew, Toby, he saw the film before both of us. He's like, I got lost. I didn't know what exactly was going on, and I was like, I don't understand that. And then I see the movie. I'm like, oh, I see where he might have gotten lost. And I said that I'm like, I see where he might have gotten lost, but I don't agree that it was hard to follow. And I think you had the
Yeah, because as soon
conclusion.
as I got out of it, like it took like all of maybe an hour thinking about it, and then I was like, oh, it's all moving contingently
Yeah,
forwards and backwards at the same time. Like it's not that hard
yeah,
to follow once you think of it in that term.
yeah. So then, to speed things up a little bit, so then we have they're going back and forth between the inversion machines, and we get this final major battle, and we know that ultimately Kenneth Branagh's character, because when he dies, because of
He
this heart monitor he
he knows
wears.
when he's going to die. Like if he dies in the past or the future, it's gonna alert him in the present with his heart monitor. And he ultimately we find out he will be the cause of the end of the
Yes,
universe.
because he
And
made a deal with the devil, as he puts it. I made a deal with the devil, and I found out when I was going to die, and I've been doing this in preparation. I've been living my best life,
because
making money off
they
of,
keep talking about this site where this bomb exploded.
yeah, which was his hometown growing up.
Hmm.
And then we get
It's
a
this like secret Russian site, and then you see some flashbacks where he finds this what was supposed to be plutonium, the same plutonium that
yeah,
they're trying to take.
which would be a piece of the algorithm in real life
And it's these documents from the future,
with
and
his name on it and
yeah,
some inverted
instructions
material.
and inverted material. And since then, he's been planning this out. Like, if I
And
die, I'm taking everybody with me.
and he needs all the pieces of the algorithm to do that.
Hmm.
So he's been getting these cases throughout time, knowing where they are, and slowly putting the algorithm together, which is why that last piece is so important.
And they find out where the last piece is at this, like, was it like a
That
nuclear site? Like,
no,
it's
no,
being held
the
underground?
the last piece was the one from the car chase,
That's
it,
right.
and they now that he's put the algorithm together, they're trying to put it at this nuclear site because that is where he plans on dying.
Hmm.
He plans on going off a bomb, dying there, and ending the world with him. Because something that we made clear, he makes clear himself. Of part of the reason he won't let Elizabeth Debicki character go is if I can't have you, no one can, and that's the same view he has of the world. If I can't be in this world, no one can, and that it's kind of poetic, and that's a Christopher Nolan trait right there. So we have this they're prepping to go to this site and stop him. So we have the splitter movement again, or splinter movement again, where now they have a team of non-inverted ops and inverted ops. So we have this huge battle of them trying to get to the algorithm and this, that, and the other.
And you see both teams
Teams
going
converge.
forwards and
Yeah.
backwards.
So you'll be in a scene, and you're seeing these people who are moving backwards, and you're also in the same shot you see people who are moving forwards, and you're just like, oh my god, this is so trippy, but it's awesome. And one of my favorite effects, actually, I skipped over this when he first realizes what inversion is, and he's walking to this car, and he's moving a
He's like,
certain way, and he steps in the puddle, but it's really like in reverse, and just like,
yeah. You're like, how did they do that?
yeah.
But they
But
make it seem like he's
it's
moving
so
forwards,
natural,
like
yeah.
he's moving backwards, but
Backwards.
it's playing. I don't know.
It's so. Let's get back to this fight. So we find out he. So we end up having Kenneth Branagh's character going back to his family yacht, which we forgot to mention the story that plays such an important part, where Elizabeth Debicki's character admits she tried to love him again at some point.
But she sees him cheating because a woman dives
Well,
off.
not even that. He gave her the ultimatum first, which
Mhm.
causes the fight, and she throws a fit, and she takes their son off and away.
Onto the shore,
Yeah.
but he calls them back. And as she's coming back, she sees a woman dive off of the boat, the
So
yacht.
she thinks she's cheating,
Hmm.
and then she just tries to live life throughout at as just trying to survive at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But the ultimatum that he does give her is, if you want your freedom, fine, but you can never see our son again. Which is dark.
Yeah. But this whole final battle, like it coincides with the past. So we see that metal ring on the string, like we were talking about at the beginning, and we find out later on that that's actually Robert Pattinson's character.
Yes.
And you're like, so is he gonna die? And then he actually goes like halfway through the battle. He goes like back into.
He goes into the inversion machine.
Yeah.
And then he's now going forward in time. When originally he was on the team, he was going backwards in time.
So he has two versions of himself, going forwards and backwards.
And that's a recurring thing throughout the movie, where we're seeing that there's multiple versions of these people at the same time, because you have some who are now going backwards in time and some who are now going forwards in time.
Mm-hmm. And during this whole process, we find out that the wife's character and some members of Robert Pattinson's team, they're doing a mission to kind of kill him, keep him occupied until they defuse this bomb, like take the bomb and make sure it doesn't set off. That way they can kill him and the bomb doesn't go off.
Yes.
And, and this is all happening.
The algorithm in the bomb.
Yeah.
So they need to save the algorithm, because if the algorithm gets destroyed, that's when.
Because if he dies, it sets off the algorithm and it sets the bomb off, which causes
the entire world to crash into.
So they're doing that on the yacht that she saw the woman dive off of. And they're doing this battle. And this is all going on at the same time. We find out that, they successfully, she successfully kills him.
But she does it a little too early.
Yeah. But they're able to
separate the algorithm from the bomb
as they're escaping.
Yes. Because they separate it, and then you have that really cool, the truck's pulling them out, and you see them riding the algorithm. You're just like,
shit. And then they drop back in, and then they get pulled out again. And then you see, after she kills him, she dives off the boat, and you're like,
she was the woman who was diving.
So, like, this plays into the whole movie going forwards and backwards at the same time. There's this really cool, like, Mexican standoff at the end between Aaron Taylor Johnson and
Robert Pattinson and John David Washington.
Yeah, where they're like, wait a minute, you said that nobody, like, who's seen the algorithm can live. Yeah. And they're like, whatever, if I see you again, like, I'll kill you. Yeah. And that's when we find out that
that's when we see the ring again.
Character, his ring again. So you know that he was the one that he saw the dead body, and then it
and then he's the one at the beginning.
That's Robert Pattinson's character. He lets the protagonist know that, you've recruited me.
You're the one running this whole operation.
It's been decades for me, but it's been days for you. But I consider this the beginning of a beautiful friendship, and that it's relatively a happy ending, because he knows that he has a friendship to look forward to. He's still looking forward or looking after the wife and the son, because there's this scene where he gives her a phone, and he's like, dial this number if you're in trouble. She's like, who does it go to? And he's like, for assurance or something like that.
Yeah. He's like, just for assurances, just trust me. Mm-hmm. And then that's when the woman that he meets up with early in this film and gets all this information from is actually there to kill the wife and son. And then who's there in the back?
The protagonist, and he shoots her and the bodyguard because the message goes to her. Yeah. And he knows that. And
he reveals, he's like, I found out that it's not you who's running this. It was me. We were working for me, both of us working for me this entire time. A future version of me, this, that, and the other.
But that goes into the conspiracy theory.
Which I pointed out to Connor. And we were
Why
left like,
they? Because you're like, why would they want to kill the wife and the son? Like, there's really no reason. They're just innocent bystanders. Well, one of the people that helps end this is Robert Pattinson's character.
and he brings up the fact that he
Decades
was
later, he's recruited
yeah,
by the protagonist, and kind of makes sense, like you were saying.
where this young boy who's Elizabeth Debicki's character, because something we didn't gloss over is the fact that Robert Pattinson's character is the one who keeps bringing out the events as of right now still have to happen as they're supposed to be until we get to this point. And you start to wonder, why does he feel like uh, they have to happen until we get to this point? Why is he the one pushing this so hard? And then the last shot we get is first it's of the protagonist, and then we switch to a point of view shot, and he's looking at the wife and the son. And you're like, oh my God, it all makes sense. They've had this, it's been this decades long friendship. Robert Pattinson's character is the son.
And this is why I need to see the movie again, not because of the hidden backgrounds, but the son has a backpack on because she keeps seeing him at
Yeah.
school.
Yes.
I guarantee if we watch that movie again and we
See
look
that
at that
little ring?
backpack, we'll see that ring on the end. I
Yeah.
guarantee we will see that. And I can't wait to see this movie again. I know my fiance wants to see it, and I just couldn't wait. This was the first time that I had like time to see it, but I'm sure we're gonna go see it together. But I can't wait to spot that out
Yeah.
because I guarantee I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, and I do want to bring up a theory that a fellow reviewer brought up. Craig Candico or Candico, he's known as the Fat Movie or the Fat Critic. He's local Cleveland critic, and I've gotten to know him well over the last few years, just from screenings. I'm gonna look up his Facebook real quick just to know I got this right. Anyways, he and I were talking. He's like, they did mention when David Washington was out for a while. He was out for a few weeks. He's like, considering this is a spiritual sequel to Inception, what if during that time, because they're like, why did John David Washington's character care so much about this kid? What if during that time, Inception was used to put the idea of caring for this wife and child so much into his head?
Mind blown because you don't find out what company, like who they're working for. They say like, are you working for CIA? They say like, they try to guess who they're working for, and they never say. What if they're working
Exactly.
for the company that I can't remember what the company was for? That Cobalt? Was it Cobalt? It was Cobalt
Possibly.
in Inception, and that's what I want to reiterate Inception, because Inception's one of those movies that people try to unravel. They tried saying like, when did the dreams start? All this stuff. I feel like Tenet is going to be in the same vein. They're going to unravel this for the next 10 years.
Yeah. I got Craig is known as the Fat Movie Guy. You can find him on Twitter or on Facebook at the Fat Movie Guy. He does his reviews on there. But we like you and I were, as soon as Taylor was out of there, just talking about these theories. And he's the one who gave me. I got to give him props, because I'm not going to take props for him putting that out there, because that is a brilliant idea.
No, but yeah, this is definitely going to be one of those Nolan films that people like Memento, Inception, and now Tenet. Like, it's going to be one of those movies that people will try to decipher for the next decade.
Yes.
And people are going to fall more in love with it, because the same reaction when Inception came out, people were like, I don't fucking understand the movie, I don't like it.
And then over the next few weeks, people started to think, oh wait, what about this?
I need to see it again, because they thought about it over the next few days. They're like, wait a minute, I need to see it again to actually really understand it. So I feel like even in the climate we're in, people will go see it again. I'll go see it again.
I
And
want to see it again.
you know personally, I was very like, I'm not fucking going to the theater, dude.
Yeah, and I was about to say, let's address the
like,
elephant.
it's not gonna be that bad.
Yeah.
Like, just go see a movie in the theater. It's not gonna be that bad.
Yeah.
I promise. I've talked to people, and I was like, I don't know about that. And I saw a TV spot during the playoffs, and I'm like, all right, I gotta fucking see this.
And I do want to address the elephant in the room because for the last 2 weeks, we've been having this discussion of, is it? Because I know originally last week, you and Taylor, you guys were both like, man, I'm not, I can't. Taylor's like, I can't support how irresponsible this is. This and the other. I'm like, I don't know. I've talked to some people where theaters are open, and they're like, and that's like, it's actually pretty safe. They're doing a good job about doing this stuff, and I'm not
That's
gonna
the
lie.
theaters. That's the theaters.
And Connor, you used to work at a theater, and you're the one who worked at a theater. I know that they aren't going to do this. I walked into my theater for a 5:20 showing, so it's not even the first showing of the day. It looked like it had just been cleaned. Like,
yeah, I went to the very first showing. Like, I was telling Taylor, like, I could smell the cleaning products.
Yeah.
And I had a mask on the whole time. There were two other people. They were very spaced out. They also had masks on. They were older. They ended up leaving as soon as, like, time, like, started reversing. They were like, I'm fucking out of this. I don't understand it. They left. So it was just me for literally, like, 2 hours. And, like, it wasn't bad. Like
the theaters are doing the proper thing, and I know after you saying it, Taylor's like, all right, maybe I will have to give it a shot.
Because I was very adamant. I was like, I'm not fucking going to the theater. I'll wait for this to go to the drive-ins. And when I noticed, like, it's not going to the drive-in, I saw that spot on the TV. I was like, I'm going to have FOMO if I don't see this. So I went to see it. Wasn't a bad experience. It was fine. Like,
and I feel like the theaters are doing the right, like they're basically putting an hour or more in between the next showtime in that theater, so they have the proper amount of time.
You got to remember, like, most theaters have like 10 to 16 auditoriums.
Yeah,
there's not, like, you have Tenet and New Mutants out right now,
and it's
Unhinged
and older movies. That's all you got.
Yeah. So you have like maybe like 3 new releases they're going to prioritize. You're going to show those in multiple auditoriums and stagger them. I know how they do showtimes.
Yeah.
I've done showtime schedules. They stagger them through different auditoriums, but they give like 90 minutes between each showtime, between each auditorium. And so with only 4, you have a lot more space between. My whole thing was, are they going to really clean the theater? They're really cleaning the theaters because I could smell it. I could fucking smell that they were cleaning the theaters. So personally, as someone who was very skeptical about the theater going experience during the pandemic, really not that bad. Obviously, don't go to a packed one.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a common sense. But you know, if you're unsure and you want to be alone, go to the matinee. It's cheaper. No one's there. Like, going to the movie by yourself is not a bad thing.
Or if you're someone who feels like it's worth it, certain theaters are allowing you to rent out a theater for $100. So if you want, if like, say you really want to see Tenet real bad, and
let me just say, Tenet is a movie you need to see in the theaters. The score, the experience of seeing it on the big screen, the visuals that Christopher Nolan is known for, shooting on 70 millimeter, all of that. Like, this is a movie you should go to the theater to see, but be safe.
Yes.
Wear a mask. Be safe.
And I know originally you were one of the guys who's like, it's like, I don't need to see it. It's like, when you see it, you're like, no, this is something.
You need to see it.
And I was very happy with the overall experience of it. This was just, it's everything I could have wanted it to be. Like I said, there's a couple things with sound that fucks with hearing a line here and there, but overall, I was real happy with it.
Let me just say, that's theater. That is based on, because when they program the movie, you have to program the sound and the movie, the visuals, and so a lot of that's on the theater themselves. If they don't program that, if they have the sound all the way up, and it overpowers, the levels are overpowering, like it's going to be an awful experience. And let me just say, like, a lot of people talk about like, oh, this movie. Same thing happened with Blade Runner 2049. Theaters just programmed the movie and played it, even though there were instructions like, during this scene the levels need to come out, during this scene the levels need to come up. Theaters don't always listen to the sheet that they get that comes with the movie,
Yeah.
because when you get the drive, it comes with a list of instructions. Like, you need to play at this resolution, this sound level.
And this
And,
this is an
and
inside look. He knows what he's talking about.
this is the same experience. Like, if you saw this in IMAX, I guarantee it would not be the same experience. The
See,
sound level,
I saw it in XD, which is for the us
XD,
East Siders. This is as close as you can.
it's like a mini IMAX, but
Yeah.
it's the same thing as if you saw in a regular theater. Like, they just program it in,
Yeah.
and it's just a bigger resolution and higher sound levels, but they didn't level it out as if the sheet said so. You see this in IMAX, they have to. If they don't, like, it's like fines from the studios. So I wish like the pandemic wasn't going on, because initially, like, I saw Interstellar on 70 millimeter IMAX, and it was a sight to behold. And I wanted to see this.
You still can.
Yeah, but
if you want to make a date trip with the girlfriend, because you talked about she wanted to see it, go down to Gateway. Sorry, fiance. I almost forgot. Make a date day and make a trip down to Columbus. They're showing it in 70 millimeter IMAX at Gateway Cinemas.
I didn't know they had a film projector there.
Yeah, Gateway has one. I know David Gutter, who's local Cleveland guy. He always, when he wants to see a film in like the 70 millimeter cuts and all that, Gateway always has it. So he goes down.
Right. When I saw Interstellar, I went to Philadelphia.
Yeah, so Gateway has the 70 millimeter cut there.
Okay, I'll have to do that, because I know she wants to see it, and that would be one hell of a time, because I know, like, because people were saying the same thing with Interstellar and Blade Runner, but when they saw it on IMAX, like, they were like, it's a different experience, because they do the IMAX projectionists. They're fucking hardest into it.
Yeah,
they make sure levels are perfect, resolution is perfect. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm sorry for rambling about
you're fine.
your experience.
But here, no, I wanted to also, because I know people are afraid of that, so I feel like we had to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about our rating. I know we talked ahead of time. We actually had the same rating for it, so all right. So we both gave it this rating right here. Tenet, it's a 4.5 out of 5 reels for both Connor and I. I really loved this film. I really dug what it did. And we talked about it. This is a 52-minute. I'm not even going to label this just a review. I'm going to label it review and discussion, spoiler discussion, because that's what it is. I loved it. This is almost more than what I could have wanted. And it's just, you got to make sure, people, you got to make sure you're paying attention.
It's an original film.
In a time where we don't get a lot of original film.
Yeah, and it's a blockbuster. Like, you don't get original blockbusters, but Christopher Nolan is constantly delivering that. And I was saying earlier before we started this episode, Interstellar I consider, a perfect film, 5 out of 5. This is just right under it. If they had a little bit more exposition, I think it would be a 5.
Yeah.
But considering like how confusing it is, which don't detract that from seeing it, because the mystery of it is all the fun of it. But if there was just a tiny bit more exposition, like, it would be a perfect film.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for us here, guys. Connor, thank you for joining me for this review and discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought we were going to do like a 20-minute video. We got a 55-minute video.
Yeah, I know. We finished really scared, and we were like, we're doing this. And I thought it was going to be a half hour. It's an hour. It's midnight time right now. So,
or is it 12? Is it 12 in the afternoon?
Oh.
All right, guys. Signing off. I'm Matt.
I'm Connor.
Remember, sponsor me, Natty.
Sponsor me, Natty.
All right.
4 out of 5 natties.
4 out of 5 now. All right, guys. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your night. This was another Who Are They Real Review.